Hello everyone, I'm Diane. Welcome to my channel Beyond the Sewing Room. So today I'm going to share with you a make for one of my latest pieces of fabric. So this is something that I bought quite recently and I did share it in my previous video, and it's just for a basic t-shirt. So it's this sort of white. It's not brilliant white. I have got one in brilliant white and I thought I'd have an off-white this time. It's really nice. It's 100% cotton jersey and it's got a really lovely soft feel to it. So I know it's a very simple piece, but I wanted it handmade and I wanted it in good quality materials, because you can get lots of plain t-shirts but they're not always such good quality, often poorly made. We don't know where they've been made, and also they don't last very well, they don't wear very well, and it's better to have our homemade clothes if we make them ourselves, isn't it? So that's what I'm doing with this today. I have toyed around with a few ideas now. I have already got a v-neck t-shirt in a sort of peak I made last year, and that's got a nice texture to it. The sleeves are a little bit different that I did on that one. I did the different sleeve, and also, like I said, I did a v-neck. So this one I thought I'd do a round neck, regular sleeve t-shirt for this one. I've gone through all my patterns, thought about just tracing one off one of my own t-shirts, which I just do that sometimes, but I thought no, I'll do it from a pattern so that I can show it with you, and then if you want to have a go at this one, you can too. I have made this before and it's Burda and it's 6059, so it's this one. And the one I did before is I did the longer line version with the long sleeves and the elasticated cuff. So I know the pattern works well and I know I do like it. It's a really easy make, but I'm just going to be making, as I said, a simple short sleeve t-shirt today. So if you are a beginner, this is another really easy make for a beginner. So beginner sewing here. If you want to sew along with me, you can. You can save this video and come back to it at a later date and then get yourself some inexpensive materials. I suggest that if you're just learning to sew, and you could have a go. So I've made all different kinds of t-shirts, but this one is a really quick and simple one if you're wanting to do this for the first time. So that's not why I'm using this one today. I'm just using it because it's a plain t-shirt pattern, and if you want to adapt it, you can. Also, you can make the sleeves longer or shorter by adding or taking away. You could change the neckline slightly, make it more scooped. Usually if I've wanted to change patterns like this, you can retrace off the front pieces and you can change them to a V and things like that if you're a bit more experienced. So that's what I often do when I'm just changing up a basic pattern. But for today, we're just keeping it as it is. So we're making, so it's view B. I'll bring it a little bit closer so you can see this one. So a straightforward t-shirt pattern. Now I've just had a look round and realised that I've got loads of white and not very much off-white. So I've got this one, which is just right, but I'm not entirely sure how much is on that because it's one that I've used on another project. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do all my seams in my regular white, and when it comes to doing round the neck, so it's twin needle around the neck. You don't have to do that, but it is best, and that's what I'm going to be using. So it's a twin jersey needle around the neck and around the sleeves, and I'm going to be saving that for where it's most obvious, and also at the hem. So my inside seams I'm going to do in just a regular white because I want to save my good matching thread for that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to cut out my pattern pieces now, and if you want to sew along with me, you can. So now that I've cut out my pieces, I've got my front piece cut on the fold is here. And then I've got my back piece cut on the fold, and the fold is here. Now, you can make it longer or shorter if you wish. So I've cut it to this one here, B, for the regular length. If you want to make it narrower and more fitted, wait till you've got it all sewn up and then you can try it on and decide if you want to make it a more clingy t-shirt or not. So just make it up as is for now. But what I have done is I decided I wanted my sleeve to come to the elbow this time, just to make it a little different from my last one. So you are just cutting the same piece as me on your pattern piece, But where you would have stopped here at B, I've just extended it a little further on mine, just to make mine come down to the elbow this time. And then I've just ran in that seam, just so that it's going to be a little clingy around my arm just here. So if you were just making B, you would have stopped it here. It's just that I've extended mine a little, just to make it a little bit different on this t-shirt from the previous one that I made. So I've done that. So as you can see, we've just got a few pieces. We've just got a back, a front, and 2 sleeves. So the neck is just going to be folded back on this particular t-shirt. So it's going to be edge finished, and then it's going to be folded back and then finished with a twin needle. So you don't need any bindings or anything. So that's what makes this one really easy if you're just starting out and you want to follow along today. So another little tip if you're using plain fabric is sometimes you might lose which side is the right side and which is the wrong side, because it's sometimes hard to see. So once you've distinguished which is which, make sure that when you cut out all your pattern pieces, you put a pin on the right side like this on each of your pieces. And if you do that, it makes it easier for when you're just picking them up quickly to sew them together, to distinguish the front from the back. So that's just another tip for you. Right, first of all, take your front piece and your back piece and place them right sides facing like this. So if you've added a pin, as I did, like this on your right side, this is your right side. These two face each other, so like this. So you've got the inside of the fabric facing you and the outside facing each other like that. And that's the other wrong side, is facing down onto the table. So we can see. These are our shoulders, and what we're going to do is we're going to stitch these shoulder seams with a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. Now most of the big patterns have got a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance, so these are ones such as Simplicity, Burda, McCall's, New Look. A lot of the independent ones vary, so the independent ones, a lot of them have got a 1 centimetre seam, so you do need to check this whenever you're starting a new pattern. But the big ones that you'll have heard of, such as Burda, McCall, Simplicity, New Look and those sort of patterns, are generally 1.5, but do always check in the instructions. So we're going to sew that shoulder seam first of all. Now you can edge finish this when you've finished it if you want. You may not have an overlock here. If you have, you can overlock it, a zigzag finish, but if you don't want to, it's nice and soft and it's quite a good finish on a jersey, on a t-shirting like this. You could just leave it raw if you wanted to. So 1.5, and you can put a piece of tape on your needle plate if you haven't got the marking. Most machines these days do have the marking look on the needle plate to show you the seam allowances. But if you get unsure, or if you're not, you find yourself looking for it all the time, just put yourself a piece of washi tape there, just so that you know that the edge of your fabric will be in line with it. And you can change this whenever your seam allowance changes on different patterns. You want a zigzag stitch on, and you want it on a small zigzag, small width. Back tack to begin. And do the same on the other side. Now I'm changing to a twin ballpoint or twin stretch needle. So I have this one already, so this is the one that I'm using. We're going to pop this one in, and what you do is you make sure that you've got a thread on in the right colour, and you also wind part of that onto an additional spool, so you can pop it on just here. And I tend to put it where I would fill my bobbins, and I find it's fine just here, but you can put it on this one as well. So it may be different on your machine, so just check. And then you're just going to bring them both through the same route and thread them up as normal. So bring them both through the same route as if you were threading up normally. But then when you get to your needle, obviously you thread both sides of the needle. And then you just have your regular thread on underneath as normal. Pull it up, test it on a bit of scrap fabric. We're going to be working from the top. So you need to pin your neckline in place, because that's what we're doing next. So I'll show you that on the t-shirt. And you work from the top. So the twin needling it's decorative and it's holding what you've turned back in place. You're doing it from the right side and you get those two nice neat rows of stitching. So let's pin it, thread up your machine, and then we'll do that next. So place all your pins like this around the neckline, and it's best if you do them from the outside because that's where you're going to be stitching from, and then that way you can take them out as you go. So make sure that you've pinned it back, the seam allowance, so that's 1.5 again, which is our seam allowance, and now we're going to stitch that with a twin needle. So test it before you begin to make sure that you're happy with the effect and that it's working properly. And it wants to be on a straight stitch as well. Don't have it on your zigzag stitch for this. It wants to be a normal straight stitch. Try and make sure that you're catching right on that edge, because on the other side you get a nice effect that catches it all in. Now press your neckline flat when you've stitched it in place like this, but when I say press, press the iron on, don't move it around because you can stretch your neckline out at this point if you do that. So you just hold the iron on as you press it flat. Just take care at this stage of the neckline. Now you've done that, we're going to apply our sleeves. So we're going to pin these in position, and do bear in mind that you've got notches here and on your sleeve, and we're going to be matching those up, and also the notch at the shoulder. So pin your sleeve in place like this. So we have, again, right side facing right side. You have your back and front opened up like this, so the shoulder seam is here. Place the seam of the sleeve on top. So this is the central notch of your sleeve here. It lines up with this seam here at the shoulder. And then this is the opening of the armhole. So I've not done the side seams yet, I've left it all open like this. This is the underarm point. And then at this side we have that notch that matches the notch there. So make sure that those notches are lining up. If you've picked up your sleeve and put it face down and that notch is on that side and then the other notch is on this side, you know you've got the wrong sleeve. You need to make sure that they line up with right sides facing. So with it like that in position, we're going to stitch that in place a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. Remember, we're back using a zigzag stitch now. So a small zigzag and a smaller stitch. Now you're going to pin down your sleeve like this at your underarm point and then all the way down the side seam, bringing those seams together. We're going to stitch this with a 1.5 centimetre seam allowance. Then when you've done that, try your t-shirt on. See if it's snug enough for you. You may wish to take a little bit more out if you feel this is a little bit big on you. It is a loose fitting t-shirt, this one. And your sleeves, of course, will be shorter than mine if you haven't extended them the way I've done. I'm going to try this. If I don't like it, I will just make them shorter, but I'm going to try it as it is. So sew those seams first of all. Now change back to your twin needle, thread it up with 2 threads again, and you're going to pin back the hem of your sleeve like this, like you did on the neckline. Pin it from the outside so that you can twin needle it from the right side again, and then when you've done that, I'm going to do the same with the hem. So decide whether you like the hem length the way it is or whether you want to shorten it a little, and then when you've decided, pin it up in place again from the outside, and we're also going to hem round the bottom. Remember, you need to make sure that your twin needle is near the edge of the fabric so you can feel the fabric on the inside, and it needs to be on that straight stitch. So here is my finished t-shirt. So as I said, I've done mine to the elbow because I thought it just gives it something a little different from one that you can buy in the shops, which are all sort of the same length. So this is the length, the finished length for view B. So I didn't change anything on this part, I just changed the sleeve length. Tuck it in. So I really like this pattern, and I'm going to be making a few more for the summer because I do have a few other bits of jersey left that I think are just big enough to make tops out of. And I've got a few gaps still missing of plain things, so a few more of these to come, and it's really quick to make, so let me know what you think. So I hope that was helpful today. Please let me know how you get on in the comments, and if you made this one before. The last time I made it, as I said, I did make the long sleeved with the elasticated cuffs, and I also did it in a patterned, it was quite a wild green pattern fabric that I made that one in, so it did look very different to this one. So if you change up the length, the sleeves, you can also change the neckline slightly. There's lots of different ways that you can change it up and make it look something completely different. If you do the neckline wider, you can make it more of a boat neck as well, if you prefer that kind of style. You could have the sleeves short, you can have them capped. You could even leave them off altogether and just turn it back here and have it with your shoulders showing. But you would need to bear in mind you might need to take a little bit under the underarm to stop it gaping if you did that. But there's always different ways you can play around with it, and if you've got scrap fabrics that you're not going to be doing anything with, I suggest you play around and try these things out, because you'll find all kinds of variations on patterns that you've already got as well. So that's all for today. I hope to be back soon, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.